Yeah, so thank you, everybody. Welcome to the Performance Audit and Risk Committee meeting for the 26th of April. And welcome to those in the chamber and also to people watching online. So to start the meeting, firstly, we'll go to apologies. We have an apology from Councillor Halaleli. And just, yep, thank you. Moved Councillor Holding, seconded Councillor Hopkins. I assume we have, yep, we have Councillor Kingan online. Independent, it's Rachel. Is it?
Yeah, I think I'm just going to change that.
Oh, is that Simon?
It is Simon.
Yep, Simon online to welcome Simon.
And the audit director is there.
And the audit director is where? We're all ready, is it? Got good already. Yes, yes, yep. Welcome to the Eden meeting room. Yep, ready and 4 people.
Just how many people go.
Come there. Right. All right. So policies have been moved and seconded. So all in favour, please say aye. Against, declare that carried. Declarations of interest. I'm sure we're all very interested, but anything in particular? No, so we'll move on to that. Right, confirmation of the public minutes of the meeting on the 8th of March.
With one minor correction on page 8, item 4.1, second paragraph. It's grammatical only, but the Group Manager Paul Hope highlighted that at this stage of halfway through. I think the word of isn't necessary and it should just read at this stage halfway through the financial year.
Yes, indeed. Thank you, Councillor Hopkins. That of can be omitted. So with that change, moved Councillor Hopkins, seconded. Yeah. Yep, Councillor Holding. All in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Against, declare that carried. Right, memorandum reports, which the first one is financial summary and overview for the end of February 2022, which is, as the report said, it's a high level financial summary for the 8 months ended February 22. Author Mr. Wells, authoriser Mr. Hope. So Mr. Wells, Mr. Hope. Hi, Mr. Hope, Mr. Wells. Any comments to add, please?
Just to note that this is simply an update on the December information received for period 6, the second quarter. And in the second quarter financial report, we also provided appendix 5 or 6, I think it was, which was an update for January. So this is now an update for February. As noted, it is very high. It's a helicopter view, but it is kind of letting you know that things are going the way we expected them to, and you will receive a full financial update for quarter 3, March, at the 10th of May meeting. So we'll take any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Wells. So yes, so just to note that it is a high level overview, and there'll be a more detailed report at the end of the quarter. And just on the next page, page 14, you'll see the operating surplus year to date is 537,000 compared to a budget of 526. So as Mr. Wells intimated, it seems very council is very much close to budget for that 8 month period. So has anybody, any members got any questions as to, yep, Councillor Hopkins?
Yeah, I have a couple of questions. Perhaps 2 of them maybe to Alex and Paul. Just looking at the statement on page 13 of the agenda and first page of the report, Ian, property, plant and equipment is significantly over budget. And if we go to the next page, summary statement of financial position, it's showing the property, plant and equipment are essentially 9,999,861 rather than 908. But that's only a 90,000 increase. I'm just wondering is that what you mean by significant?
Because the report is in thousands of dollars, that's actually $1 billion versus 908 million. So it's a reasonably substantial number, at least to me it is.
Yes, right, okay, and that's revaluation. So it's a book entry in a sense.
It's the revaluation of Three Waters that occurred at June of last year, and that's haunted us all this year with increased depreciation and various other factors arising from that.
Which leads, Mr. Chair, with your permission, to the two questions I'd like to put to Alex and Paul. The first is, I think it's time for us to have, given this revaluation and the impact it has on ratepayers in terms of their payments, I think we really need a very rigorous review of life expectancy, asset maintenance plans, all those sorts of things to see, and perhaps unfunding some depreciation, possibly. But I do think it's time not to just say, oh, we've had to revalue, ergo, we put the depreciation rate up, ergo, people pay more, and perhaps have a rather more rigorous look at that. The second question, and this is something that somebody asked me over the weekend, it says here, we've borrowed a total of 25 million from the LGFA. This person said, what have you spent it on? So is it possible that we could get a list of the uses to which the money's borrowed from the LGFA has been put?
Yes, we can certainly provide some information on how the funds from the LGFA have been used since we've drawn them down. In terms of the first piece, we have applied the existing unfunding of depreciation policy to the depreciation. So you'll see the impact through this statement. We've actually tried to minimise the rating impact for the coming year and we've made a number of applications of the existing policy, which allowed quite an amount of that to be unfunded because one of the big leaders in the unfunding discussion is if it's being loan funded, then essentially principal repayments aren't funded as well. So we're not doubling on that. And a lot of the increase in the Three Waters revaluation was actually in essentially items treated as land. So they're not actually depreciated. So we're seeing that the impact of the value, but there's less of an impact than perhaps a $100 billion change would suggest on the depreciation that we're seeing. So a big part of that was recognising the treatment ponds, the formation of those, and some of the assets attached to them, which again are treated as land rather than a depreciable asset.
Yeah, thank you for that, Mr. Hope. Because I just noted the budget depreciation was 10.9 million and it's actual 11.3. So given the actual scope of the revaluation increase, the depreciation increase isn't of the same proportion, same magnitude. So but even so, 11.3 million for the 8 months is still a lot of depreciation. And but I think just to follow up from Councillor Hopkins' point though, and yours, Mr. Hope, the council is already unfunding a lot of depreciation. So we have looked quite recently as to what more could be done maybe in that case, or is that, just refresh my memory?
Yeah, we could certainly go, I think, again, present a schedule as perhaps an additional item to the May report that we're going to produce, just to highlight the key areas that are being unfunded. Obviously the biggest one is in the roading area due to the subsidy we receive from Waka Kotahi, but we can certainly give some details of the other ones so you've got a better understanding of that. Right, Mr. Neil, you have your hand up or a question?
I do. It was more just a point of clarification, and it may have been spoken about previously, I didn't hear it, but the paper makes reference to the change in $6 million of value to the loans to other entities being over budget because of the rearrangement of loans to the Observatory Village Charitable Trust. I just wondered if Mr. Wells or Mr. Hope could just explain that.
Yeah, so the first part of that transaction was in advance that council discussed in relation to in advance to Waitaki District Health Services to buy out their loan from the Observatory Trust. So that's just the item that was being referred to.
Okay, thank you for that, Paul. Right, any other questions anybody has on this paper? If not, someone look prepared to move the recommendation. Move Councillor Hopkins, second Councillor Holding. All in favour, please say aye. Aye. Against? Declare that carried. Thank you. All right, next item is the Residents Satisfaction Survey Quarterly Update, which is Mr. Hope and Miss Mandy McIntosh. Mr. Hope's here.
Yeah, Mandy might like to leap in from the sidelines at some stage, but yeah, this is really just advising that we have completed the third tranche of the survey. It is, again, pretty much a helicopter view of this and more advising elected members that it has occurred. What we don't do too much analysis of the tranches as they occur in terms of the actual sort of statistical results, because they are quite variable given the sample size of each tranche. But it is interesting just sort of on the two illustrative pages there, seeing quite a variation between the two sampling methods. So interesting to see if that carries on for the rest of the year. The main thing we do with these is, as noted, look at some of the verbatim comments, see if there's anything that we should follow up urgently, and then really start to try and address by various means some of the comments made. If there's a topical issue that we think we can answer by a couple of the means we've talked about, then we attempt to do that and just try and get some sort of just a bit of closure or a bit of rounding out some of these things on a more timely basis rather than waiting until the end of the year. But it's really just for your information.
Right, thank you, Mr. Hope. And it's very interesting. The comment made is that the responses now are longer rather than just the telephone recalls. So there's more information being received by council. And the key topics raised are like Three Waters. Council did not oppose the reform strongly enough. And then on consultation, too much consultation, and respondents often feel the decision has already been made. And I just think council at times is accused of doing things behind closed doors, and then now we're being accused of too much consultation. So it seems to be a very hard line just to meet the agreement of the public. So, but no, the verbatim comments will be very good to read and to see where they're going to. So, has anybody got any questions and comments on the satisfaction residents here? Councillor Hopkins?
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair. I note, and I think we should note, this is a comment very quickly, first of all, that the area of greatest dissatisfaction in this quarter, and it mirrors what we got in the full year, is levels of satisfaction with value for money. And this is, people are telling us we're costing them too much and they're not getting enough for it. And in my view, we should be listening much more clearly. And I would have liked to have seen the conversation about Forrester Heights framed in those terms. But there's a couple of questions for Mandy as much as anyone, I think. And Mandy, this is not intended to be critical, but you've said that in response to the comments about curbside recycling and unsealed roads, we've got an answer on the website now that says, did you know that curbside rubbish and recycling services are not included? Well, I don't think that's entirely correct, because recycling services are included in our rates through the money we pay to Wirt and the recycling centre at Chelmer Street, and also the other centre, the other sites around the district. So recycling is covered for in rates. It's just delivered by an entity other than ourselves. And with regard to roading, we only commit to the sealing of unsealed roads. We only commit to this expense where the traffic volume support it, and if we can attract subsidies 57% from Waka Kotahi. Well, again, that's not correct. We have a policy that says if the community meets that subsidy equivalent, then we will go ahead and seal. So I think both of those answers on the website need clarification or modification. Do you have a response to that?
Yeah, no, thank you for that, Councillor Hopkins. But any responses that we put into the public forum are passed through the relevant unit managers. So we'll just reconfirm those with those unit managers and get that information changed if that is incorrect. We don't put anything out there that's just written freely by ourselves. We do get that passed through the right channels to make sure that what we're putting out there is correct to our best knowledge, but we'll get that verified and corrected if that is incorrect.
Yeah, thank you, Councillor Hopkins. Yeah, both those cases it could be clarified, and but especially in relation to the unsealed roads, the cost, the sealed road costs 3 times. Oh no, that's the wrong one. It costs up to 140, 160,000 if the road's strong enough, and may cost 400, 450,000 per kilometre if it's not strong enough. So that would probably deter most people from thinking they can put up their share of the funding for the roads. But yes, the information should be available. Right. Anybody else? Any questions on the report? If not, I'll ask for a mover and seconder, please. Yeah, move to Councillor Holding, second to Councillor Hopkins. All in favour, please say aye. Against? Yep, thank you, Simon and Bill. Right, declare that carried. Right, so next thing is resolution to exclude the public. So to the people online who've been watching, thank you very much for your interest so far. The next items are matters we need to discuss in public excluded for reasons of privacy and confidentiality. So thank you for your attendance, and we'll just have a change and we'll carry on. So thank you. Yeah. So just first of all, thanks. So resolution to exclude the public, please. Councillor Hopkins, Councillor Holding, all in favour, please say aye. Against? Carried. So we'll now go into public excluded.